San Francisco's Archbishop denounces the destruction of a statue of St. Junipero Serra, saying it is the latest example of some people using the current movement against racial injustice as a reason for violence, looting, and vandalism. Last Friday, protesters toppled the statue of St. Junipero Serra in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. They cheered as the monument to the 18th century Catholic missionary fell to the ground. Joining me now by Skype to talk more about this is Archbishop Salvatore J. Cordileone of the Archdiocese of San Francisco. Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be with you.
Well, that video was so difficult to watch. What went through your mind when you saw the statue being toppled over and destroyed?
Oh, it's very painful and a very deep wound into my soul. I've always felt a great affection for Junipero Serra. I grew up a little over 3 miles away from the first mission that he founded in San Diego, so he was very much a part of my life all along. And it's an active parish. It's the last place I lived there when I was auxiliary bishop before I moved north here to the Bay Area. So I know what a great man he is and what a great saint. And to see that happen and people cheering was very, very painful.
To Catholics, St. Serra is remembered for defending Native Americans. And I know that you have called his sacrifices heroic. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Truly heroic virtue. That's why Pope Francis canonized him, the first saint canonized on American soil. That's what sanctity is. He intervened constantly for the Indians to protection from harsh treatment if they rebelled. He famously walked all the way to Mexico City from California. He had a bad leg that caused him much pain. He walked all the way to Mexico City to meet with the viceroy to get special faculties to discipline the military who were abusing the Indians, and then he walked all the way back. And what I'm often fond of saying is that we have a physical reminder of the protection the Franciscans gave to the Indians, in the sense of, if you look at the chain of 21 missions up and down the California coast, when the Spaniards landed, they had a whole settlement. So the missionaries, but also the soldiers, the governing authorities, the soldiers were in their barracks, the presidio. But you see, the presidio is several miles away from the mission and the school. They always founded schools, right? Because it was about educating, teaching, forming in the faith. They're miles apart. I know where they first landed in San Diego. It's a bluff overlooking the bay, and they first thought put everything together, but they soon realized they had to get the Indians away from the soldiers because they were abusing them. And so they moved the mission several miles inland and close to the river, the source of water. And we see that pattern repeated all up and down the California coast. They were very, very dedicated to the people. They're Franciscans after all, right? Franciscans, they take their vow of poverty very seriously. They've always been aligned with, identified with the poor and the outcast and the marginalized to this day. And Father Serra and his missionaries were no exception. There were some harsh treatment that would happen, but when that did, Father Serra would send those missionaries back to Spain if they were treating the native population particularly harshly.
I know that you said this renewed movement to correct the injustices in our society has been hijacked by some people. What concerns you the most about seeing where we are right now in this country? And also, what do you think can be done to bring about unity?
It's a double concern, really, with this kind of hijacking and all the violence and the anarchy. But the other part of it is we do have very deep scars of racism in this country. Our history, it's been intertwined with very serious offenses against especially African-American and indigenous American peoples, others who have immigrated here as well, but especially these two groups. And I'm afraid that by some people hijacking this for whatever alternative political motive it is, not only is it going to create more anarchy and more instability in our society, it's also not going to seriously address these sins of racism that we do need to correct. So it's a double concern that I have.
Well, your Archbishop, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, Your Excellency. Archbishop Salvatore J. Cordileone of the Archdiocese of San Francisco. Thank you again.
My pleasure.